on-field sports on the Aztec Sports Network. Live from Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill, it's the Aztec Coaches Show, presented by Verizon.
Throw back to the near side. Touchdown, Aztec!
The Aztec Coaches Show is brought to you by Quality First Real Estate. For residential real estate needs, it's Quality First at QualityFirstRealEstate.com. Proud sponsor of Aztec Athletics. Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill, San Diego's most authentic Irish pub and grill, and proud host of the Aztec Coaches Shows. And by Quality First Commercial Real Estate. For commercial real estate needs, it's Quality First at QualityFirstCommercial.com. Proud sponsor of Aztec Athletics. Now, live from Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill, it's the Aztec Coaches Show. Here's your host, Chris Ello.
Hey, let's hear it, everybody. Welcome to Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill, Grossmont Center, our regular Wednesday night get-together for the Aztec Coaches Show. Hooley's home to the famous corned beef tacos, other award-winning menu items, and, of course, Wednesdays throughout the college football season. Right here at Hooley's in Grossmont Center, we have Coach Rocky Long with us, and the Aztecs coming off an impressive 42-7 victory over Army on Saturday, evening up the record at 1-1. We'll give you guys a chance here at Hooley's to ask the coach some questions a little bit later in the program. And if you are joining us on the radio, you can call in and talk to Coach Rocky Long as well. The phone number locally here in San Diego, 858-569-8255. And if you're watching or listening on the internet, you can call toll-free from anywhere, 1-800-600-KOGO. That's 1-800-600-5646. Let's welcome to the program the coach of the San Diego State Aztecs, Rocky Long. Coach, 42-7 over Army. Congratulations on the victory. And I imagine even an old curmudgeon such as yourself was fairly pleased at the way you guys played on Saturday night against Army.
No, I was pretty happy with the way we came out, and especially that we started right off the bat, both on offense and defense. We started playing well right from the beginning, which, especially on defense, hasn't been our MO a little bit last year in the first game. So that was nice to see, but I had no idea. I thought we'd play well, but I didn't think we'd play that well going into the game, and I think we kind of knocked them off their rhythm a little bit, and it just started at the beginning and carried on through the whole game.
Yeah, you guys started it with the opening drive. Nice 71-yard march right down the field for a quick 7-0 lead. Let's talk about your offense, and starts with your offensive line. I thought those guys really grew up between weeks 1 and 2 and really played well and controlled the game for you. Your running attack, 228 yards rushing. Both Moema and Casey had big games, and they had some pretty good holes to run through.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you move the ball as efficiently as we did, it starts up front. I mean, we have some pretty good running backs, but they don't gain many yards if people aren't blocked. And so they had to block really well for the running game, and then the running backs did a lot of making people miss and breaking some arm tackles too. But we also threw the ball pretty well, and I thought the quarterback was more patient this week than he was the first week. But I also thought it's easier to be patient if you're getting better protection. It's a lot easier to be patient. So I think the offensive line did a really good job.
Ryan Katz in his second game for San Diego State, 14 out of 21, 215 yards, had one touchdown, and really didn't run it all that much, like you said. Went through his progressions a little bit better, and I thought that it was nice to see a breakout performance from Ezel Ruffin to catch 5 passes for 132 yards. Talk a little bit about Ezel and talk a little bit about Ryan.
Well, like you said, I thought Ryan, the offensive line made a big jumper, got a lot better between game 1 and 2. And I thought Ryan Katz got a lot better from game 1 to 2. I think he felt more comfortable. Like you said, I think he was confident in his protection, so he was able to go through his reads. And then I thought he threw the ball pretty accurately too. In fact, there was at least three drops, so he should have probably completed some other passes more than he did. Ezel Ruffin, it's about time. I mean. If you saw that young man in high school, you would have thought he was going to be a really good player. We redshirted him. We tried him at running back at first. That really wasn't his forte, so we redshirted him as a freshman, and he tore up our defense on the scout team. And then he had some academic issues, so he wasn't eligible to play last year. And once again, he tore up our defense on the scout team. And I think the young man matured over last summer. because last fall and last spring and this summer, he passed every single class and had over 3.0 in every semester. And so obviously he's eligible to play this year. And it's nice to see him do that to other defenses instead of ours in practice.
Well, another thing that you guys showed, you showed a little bit in the Washington game, but you worked it for a touchdown against Army, was a little bit of the Wildcat offense. I don't know if you refer to it as the Wildcat offense, but Adam Dingwell getting the direct snap, getting him involved in the offense, he scores a touchdown. And it's always nice to get your fullback, Chad Young, a touchdown in the game as well, because he does a lot of dirty work for you.
Yeah, in fact, the offensive play, and nobody would guess this probably, with the number of yards that we gained and the points we scored, but the offensive player of the week was Chad Young. And it's mostly because if you saw the blocks he put on those guys on lead plays and power plays, I mean, it was something to watch on film. There were several times those guys went straight on their backs. And so then they faked that play, and obviously the guy was ready for him to get blocked, and he just slipped inside of him, went in the flat, and he was wide open, so it was nice to see him get a touchdown. But the first two games, he's really played well. He played especially well last week.
42 points up on offense, only 7 allowed to an Army team that we know can move the football and has that great option attack. Their coach after the game, a good friend of yours, Rich Ellerson, and he said he was a little stunned at the way his team performed. He thought they would be a little bit more ready, play a little better, senior quarterback in Trent Steelman. How much of it was Army not executing, and how much of it was you guys really doing a nice job executing on defense to limit them?
I guess it's your point of view. I mean,
right, yeah.
In Rich's point of view, I think he thinks that they didn't execute very well. From my point of view, I think we gave them a lot of trouble where it was hard to execute well. And usually when you have those ideas on both sides of the fence, it's probably somewhere in the middle. We probably did some things on defense that bothered their quarterback, so he didn't execute as well as he would normally execute. So they had a tough night. And they do. That quarterback's really, really good. If you remember last year, he had about 200 yards rushing against us, and it was on a couple plays that we think we lined up on defense that they don't like to run that play against, because we wanted to keep the ball out of his hands. And it did work. I mean, he didn't run with the ball but a couple times, and when he did, he usually got tackled. We had a little trouble with a counter dive play, and we had a little trouble a couple times when they pitched the ball wide and blocked our guys. But keeping the ball out of his hands, or getting it out of his hands to the fullback, or making him pitch, I think really helped us.
Nat Burhay had 14 tackles to lead your defense. He was named the Mountain West Conference Defensive Player of the Week, and that's what your guy at the Aztec position is supposed to do, run around and make a whole bunch of tackles. But it's really a team effort that allows him the ability. We thought in calling the game last Saturday that your defensive line did a nice job of keeping your linebackers and your secondary guys clean so that they could run around and make the tackles. Was that an accurate description?
Well, our defensive line did a nice job, but our defensive line doesn't keep people off of our linebackers and our secondary, because we stun our defensive line. They're not actually taking on blockers and making sure they don't get off to the next level. But what they were doing was hitting the fullback as soon as he got the ball or didn't get the ball, and making the quarterback pitch it quick. So in theory, what that does is when you have a linebacker and an offensive lineman out in space, the linebacker should win every time. He should not get blocked when they're in the open area. Same with the safety, like where Nat Berhe is. When the offensive tackle is down the field to block a safety, the safety should be quick enough, fast enough, and athletic enough to make the offensive lineman miss. Now, I said that in the very first play they ran, the tackle went down there and put Nat Berhe right on his helmet, and the guy that was blocking our corner went and knocked him down, and they went about 30 yards on the very first play of the game. Okay, but on the next time they ran that, they pitched the ball. The guy that was blocking our corner missed him. The tackle missed Nat Berhe, and the guard missed our middle linebacker in the open space, and they ran him down to the sidelines for no gain. So it's still, I mean, no matter how good the design of the defense was, it's still players making plays. You just put them in a position where they can be successful. It's still up to them to make the play.
And they made a lot of them for you on Saturday night, holding Army to just 7 points, a tremendous performance. Let's not leave out your special teams because they contributed to the victory as well. Colin Lockett had a 96-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. That was one of the best executed kickoff returns I think I've ever seen. I don't like to take any credit away from Colin Lockett, who had to run the ball 96 yards. But had that been a touch football play, I think he still would have scored a touchdown because no one ever laid a hand on him. You guys just wiped out their entire kickoff coverage.
I mean, obviously Colin Lockett has speed, and he's hard to catch, and he can make people miss. But he didn't have to make anybody miss except the kicker. And if you're a kickoff return guy and a kicker tackles you, you hear about it for the next 3 weeks. Okay, but the return team did a great job. They honestly, I mean, they blocked everybody to the side they were supposed to. They left 2 guys outside that we actually have 2 guys that lead the return man up down the sidelines, and those 2 guys are supposed to kick those guys out. It looked better than it ever has in practice because every single guy made their blocks. And usually on a kickoff return, there's enough space out there that guys covering it make the guy that's supposed to block them miss. And then they get in the way, and it's a tackle around the 20, 25-yard line. Well, every single one of our guys made their block. Colin hit the hole, went outside, juked a little bit, and the kicker dove at him and didn't touch him. And then Locke's really fast, so they weren't going to catch him. So, I mean, you know, he got a lot of national recognition, but even in our team meeting, he didn't get Special Teams Player of the Week.
He didn't make it, huh?
No, because everybody figured that anybody could have scored that touchdown.
Anybody could have scored that touchdown. Well, I'm sure Colin Lockett might beg to differ, but it was still capped off a 42-7 victory for San Diego State over Army. Great performance on offense, great performance on defense, great performance on special teams. You put it all together, and the Aztecs are 1-1. Coming up on the Aztec Coaches Show tonight, we'll talk about this Saturday night's opponent, the University of North Dakota, coming here to Qualcomm Stadium to take on Rocky Long's team. 5 o'clock kickoff on Saturday night. Tickets are still available for the game on Saturday night as the Aztecs welcome North Dakota to the Q. Tickets for the game started only, I believe it's $6. You can get tickets to the game on Saturday night. Kickoff 5 o'clock. To purchase tickets, remember they start at $6, 619-283-SDSU, or log on to goaztecs.com. We'll talk about the North Dakota game when we come back. We'll get some of your questions here at Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill. We'll go out to the phones as well. Chris Ello along with the Aztec head coach Rocky Long, live from Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill in Grossmont Center. Wednesday night, it's the Aztec Coaches Show from News Radio FM 95.7 and AM 600 Kogo. Go! Welcome back to Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill, everybody. The Aztec Coaches Show. Chris Ello along with the Aztecs head football coach Rocky Long. Quality First Real Estate, San Diego's top real estate company. We can help you buy, sell, and manage San Diego real estate. When it comes to real estate, it's always Quality First. Click qualityfirstrealestate.com. Also want to remind you fans, don't forget that the Warrior Walk will take place at 3 o'clock this Saturday afternoon. Be part of this tradition when the team makes the walk into Qualcomm Stadium. Starts in the E3, F3 parking area, and it finishes in Aztec Village in parking area F1. So be sure to be part of this fan-favorite event. Cheer on the team as they prepare to take on North Dakota. And, Coach, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming game this Saturday. You guys take on a North Dakota team that is 2-0, a team that has scored something like, I can't even barely add it up, 121 points in 2 games. They're putting points up on the board, 66-0 in their opener, 45-37 in their second game. Their quarterback threw 6 touchdown passes last week, and their top wide receiver leads the nation, FCS, in receiving yards per game. So they have some weapons, and I imagine with your team, you don't have to convince them that they have to show up and be ready to play against North Dakota, or else you'll be in for a fight.
I think even if we show up, it's going to be a fight. I hope we don't have to convince them. I mean, we've talked about it already. They've seen them on film. What you don't see is the receiver is as fast a receiver as we've played against since we've been here. He reminds me of the receivers at TCU. He's that kind of athlete. The quarterback, which they didn't know could play, was unbelievable last week. He was accurate with the football. He's an old wide receiver, just like the kid that was at Texas A&M that was a first-round draft choice, the starter from Miami right now. Tannehill.
Yeah.
He was a starting wide receiver for him. They moved him to quarterback, and he was unbelievable. And what most people don't know and what people won't admit is you ought to see it's going to be the biggest offensive line we play against all year long. They go from, now I got to get them right, the left tackle is 6'6", 320. The left guard is 6'4", 293. The center is 6'4", 302. The right guard is 6'8", 342 pounds. The right tackle is 6'8", 318 pounds. And then their starting tight end is 6'4", 270. So,
how did North Dakota get so many big kids up there?
well, I wondered that myself, so I looked at it, and they're all North Dakota, South Dakota, or Minnesota kids.
Got them all.
So I don't. They must grow them big up there. I'll tell you that because they are gigantic. And then they've got two pretty good running backs, and then they've got two really quick wide receivers, and then they've got two freshmen that are playing wide receiver. One is 6'3", 233, and the other one is 6'4", 185. That in their first two games they just throw it up there. The one fast guy, they throw it up there, and he ran under it and goes 60 yards, 70 yards for touchdowns. And then they throw it to those big guys, and they just out-muscle you for the ball. They are, on film, a much better football team than anybody will give them credit for, I promise you. And the other thing about them is they've won 6 straight games. They won the last 4 last year, and they've won the first 2 this year. And if you look at last year's games that they won, they were very, very close. So they have a mentality, they have a tough mentality that no matter what the situation in the game is, that they can win it. And then this year, they've just been killing everybody, especially on offense. So they're going to come in, they're going to be big, strong, they've got some skill at the skill spots, and they're going to be very confident. So how much confidence does that give you than us?
Well, I have a lot of confidence still in our club to be able to handle North Dakota, and I'm sure that the fans probably don't believe you when you try to tell them that North Dakota, coming out of the Big Sky Conference, is going to present a challenge for you. But it's a game where they have some weapons, as you said. What do you guys feel like you need to accomplish this Saturday night to make sure that you don't give them any ideas that they can come in here and steal this game from you?
Well, I'm gonna bring past history up because I think you should learn something from history. There was 2 years in a 3-year period where a team from Division I AA came to the Q, or Aztec Warrior Stadium as we call it, and beat the Aztecs. Cal Poly came down here twice and beat the Aztecs in that stadium. So there is history, and hopefully our kids have been reminded of that. They've been reminded on how good these guys are. They've been reminded that last weekend, North Dakota State beat Colorado State, Sacramento State beat Colorado, and Northern Arizona beat UNLV. Okay, so it's not unusual for that to happen. Now, I have confidence in our team. If we prepare the same way as we did last week, we're going to be fine. And it's more a mental deal than it is a physical deal, and you never know until the game starts. So, I hope the fans come out because I thought that was one of our advantages last weekend. The Warrior Walk, you mentioned the Warrior Walk. The Warrior Walk last week was awesome. It's the best it's ever been in the 4 years or the 3 years that we've actually done that.
Let's hear it for you fans who get out there and are part of that Warrior Walk. It's huge.
That was awesome. And then the stadium, I don't know. I think there was 30,000 people over there, but it seemed like a lot more because there was a lot of energy in the stadium. There was a lot of energy in the fans, and then the student section is the best it's ever been since I've been here at San Diego State. It was the best it's ever been, and I really believe that stuff matters. I think it matters to our players, and it matters to how games go. So hopefully they'll show up too. But it's most important that our team prepares the same way. You've heard me say this. It's like a broken record. It does not matter who you play. You have to prepare the same way every week and approach the game the same way every week, no matter if you're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers or you're playing North Dakota. And if you do that, you're going to be a consistent team that wins more games than it loses.
Aztecs are 1-1. North Dakota is 2-0. Game kicks off at 5 o'clock on Saturday night. We're looking forward to bringing it to you here on AM 600 Kogo. We'll take a timeout. We're at the bottom of the hour for a news update when we come back. Anybody got some questions out there for Coach Rocky Long? Good. We'll pass the wireless microphone around. Got some questions for the coach. You can call in and join us as well. 858-569-8255 or 1-800-600-5646. The Aztec Coaches Show. Chris Ello along with Aztec Coach Rocky Long. Coming back to Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill with the second half on News Radio FM 95.7 and AM 600 Kogo. All right, let's hear it, everybody. We got to bring it up a notch. We're getting into the second half of the Aztec Coaches Show. Chris Ello along with Aztec head coach Rocky Long. San Diego State taking on North Dakota this Saturday night, 5 o'clock kickoff. Don't forget the Warrior Walk takes place at 3 o'clock this Saturday afternoon. Our Aztec Coaches Show brought to you by our great friends here, Craig and the gang at Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill. Not only here in Grossmont Center, but also in Rancho San Diego. It has award-winning food, great draft and bottled beer selections, fantastic happy hour specials as well. I think you guys will all agree that the happy hour specials are top-notch, right? Click Hoolies.com for directions and more. Hooley's, the official host location of the Aztec Football Coaches Show. We've got a phone call or two to get to. Then we're going to get to some questions here from the live studio audience here at Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill. If you'd like to join us on the radio, 858-569-8255. And Bruce is there. And where's he at, Kevin? Alvarado? Terrasana. Bruce, how are you tonight? Welcome to the Aztec Coaches Show with Rocky Long.
Hey, how you doing, Chris? Rocky?
Doing well.
Good. I have a question about North Dakota, but first of all, being an Aztec fan and booster for over 20 years, I mean, I'm begging you, Rocky. We've been in the Mountain West Conference. This will be our last year. We've never won the conference. Can you please get us a conference title? I think you're the right guy to do it, and I just beg you out there, last year in the conference, get us the conference title. Now, those North Dakota boys, they grow them big up there. They're all farm boys, and they buck those bales of hay. I watched North Dakota State last year in this, and they're solid. I want to know with North Dakota, what style of offense do they run to put up so many points? Do they run out of the shotgun, or do they run more of a pro-style offense? Good luck, Rocky.
Thank you. That's a great question. They're multiple. I mean, that's an easy answer. They run pro sets with a tight end and two backs in the backfield, traditional, and then they run what we call 11 personnel, which is 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and a back and a quarterback. Sometimes they're under center, sometimes they're in the shotgun, sometimes they're in the pistol. They run a 4 wide receiver spread or spread sets. They also get into mostly short yardage, where they get into 2 tight ends or 3 tight ends and 2 backs and all that. So they're very multiple. They will try to run. They're very similar on offense to ourselves. They'll try to establish the run, and they got those great big guys up front, and their fullbacks are 240 pounds, and they got a couple guys that run it pretty good. They'll try to pound you a little bit. They'll use play-action pass, and then if they get in long yardage or that's not working, they send the 4 wide receivers in there, and they get into the spread and start throwing it around. So they got a lot of things that they use, and right now I think they have a lot of really good players that are playing at a high level.
What is the pistol offense? I've heard a lot about the pistol the last few years. I know that down the road this year you're going to play Nevada, and they run that pistol offense, and they've had great success with that. We know you've dealt with the option, and we've all seen the shotgun now for many, many years, and the spread offense in college football. What is the pistol offense, and what problems does that give an old defensive coordinator such as yourself?
Well, in fact, the guys at Nevada started the pistol.
Yeah.
And now a lot of people have copied it. It's a combination of being in the I formation and the shotgun at the same time. The quarterback is in a shotgun position, but he normally has a fullback out there with him, and he's got a tailback that lines up 2 yards behind him. Okay. Now, they can put the fullback or they can put an extra wide receiver, and they can be in the spread, but the tailback is right directly behind the quarterback. And the quarterback's at 5, the tailback's at 7. So if you have a fullback in there, you can run the traditional power plays, lead plays, ISO plays, toss sweeps. You can use play-action pass. But what it gives you advantages is you can actually run a read play or an option play, triple option play out of the shotgun, where the back is coming downhill instead of in the spread. He's going across the formation. He's coming downhill. The other problem is, and we played Nevada in a bowl game one time, the other problem is you can't see the tailback. So in defenses like ours, where we don't key the line of scrimmage, we key the backfield action, you can't find the tailback because he's directly behind the quarterback. So your reaction to the play is a little bit, in our case, the reaction to the play is a little bit slower than it is normally. Okay, at that same time, you've got all the same running plays from the pistol. Your quarterback's in the shotgun if he wants to throw it, so he doesn't have to work on taking a snap from center and dropping back. The play action pass happens a lot quicker because the guy's 2 yards from him. It is unique, and it's just like the triple option. If you only see it once a year, it's really hard to get ready for. If you see it 2 or 3 times a year, it's not too bad. Triple option, if you only see it once a year, it's really, really hard on you. But if you see it 2 or 3 times a year, it's not too bad.
Well, you'll see a little bit of it this Saturday night. I'm going back to that bowl game you're referring to when you were at New Mexico and you played the pistol offense in Nevada. I believe the final score was 23-0, New Mexico, in that game, right? You shut out the pistol offense. Am I correct?
Yeah, but that doesn't make it.
That doesn't mean it's easy to stop. No. Okay. Where's Polly, my dear, with some questions from the audience here for Aztec head coach Rocky Long? We going with Bob tonight? How are you, Bob?
Good evening. I've been raising scholarship money for the university for a long time for the athletic department, and I'm concerned about the NCAA's emphasis on grades and pass and graduation rates, and wondering how we're doing in that department.
That's a good question. We're doing fine, and most of the programs at San Diego State are doing fine. Our APR score for last year has to be sent into the NCAA in the second week of October. Now, most head coaches, and I do, I keep track of the APR myself because I think I understand it pretty well because I was involved when it first came in. And before it's ever turned in, before a school will ever turn it in, we will get together and match our scores to make sure that we're on the same page. And I have us, you have to be over, right now you have to be over 925, which means 92.5% of your players have to be eligible every semester and have to return to school or graduate from school to get these points. That means 92.5%. They're raising that to 93.5 or 935. And if last year we were 950 over last year, this year we're going to be probably 937. So this year we only have to be 925, but I think it's not next year. I think it's the year after that the scale goes up to 935. You get credit for players that did not graduate, okay, if they come back and graduate. So it's kind of a catch-22 deal. We had 8 guys go to NFL camps, okay? Some of them didn't finish school when they got drafted and they went to camps. And every kid that doesn't finish school, it happens to basketball players too when they leave because of NBA contracts. If they don't finish school, it counts against, I don't think it should personally. If they go to the NFL, it should not count against your APR. But the NCAA counts it against your APR. So you have success putting all these guys in the NFL, but it's hurting your APR score. So there's a catch-22 deal there. But some of those guys will come back and graduate. And if they come back and graduate, you get a bonus point. And for every bonus point, it helps you get back up to 935. So I have us right now, I have us at 937. I don't know what our academic people have us at, but it'll be pretty darn close to that, or we'll have some real arguments.
So a good year in the classroom, good year on the field for Rocky Long and the Aztecs. Do we have any more questions here, Polly? Yes, yes, sir, for Rocky Long. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Coach Long, my name is Bob, another Bob.
Another Bob.
First, I want to thank you for bringing a winning spirit to the Aztecs. We haven't had that in a long time. Thank you so much. I have a quick comment about the size of the other team. 50 years ago, I played guard and linebacker for Helix High School. Okay, we had a small team and terrific coaches, and our coaches said it's not the size of the dog in the fight, It's the size of the fight in the dog. We won the championship that year and a lot of years after that. So thank you again. Now for the question.
How big were you?
Huh?
How big were you?
I was 160 pounds and 6 feet tall.
And played guard, right?
I guard and linebacker.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Anyway, the question is, where are we with field goal kickers?
Kicking game.
Very good question.
Kicking game. We haven't brought up the kicking game yet tonight. I don't know why. I think the host has been kind of off his beaten path tonight with the kicking.
Oh, you were trying to be nice?
Yeah, no. I just wanted. I was going to ask you about it a little bit later, but
we have.
I'm glad it was brought up in the audience.
We have 3 young men that compete and practice every single day. They compete every day on kicking off, and they compete every day at kicking extra points and field goals. Right now we're very inconsistent, and it depends on the week on which kid is kicking the best. Whoever kicks the best during the week, he is our kicker for that week. He kicks off and kicks extra points and field goals. And so I would much rather have one guy that was really, really consistent and do it the whole time. But that's not the situation right now. So we compete like every other position. We compete at every other position.
Can we hire Nate Kading? You want Nate Kading to come in and kick on Saturday? I don't know that we can hire Nate Kading. Maybe he can get Nick Novak since the Chargers cut him.
He's talking about him coaching.
Oh, coaching.
Kickers nowadays, this is something that the public should know. Kickers nowadays and punters nowadays are a lot like golfers and tennis players. They have private coaches. They really do. In the off season, now we don't let their private coaches come out and coach them on our field, but they work with them constantly. They work with them on weekends. They work on them on the off hours. They work with them. They work with them on the whole off season. And every one of those guys that works with those kids is former NFL guys. And those kids pay big bucks for those guys to train them. So all 3 of our guys have been trained by NFL guys. You know, I don't know if you play golf or not, but if you play golf, it's just like a golf swing. Some days you hit it right, and some days you don't hit it right. And the ones that hit it right all the time, they earn a whole lot of money on the PGA. And the ones that kick it right all the time, they earn a whole lot of money in the NFL.
All right, there you go. There's your kicking game question. We'll take a quick time out. When we come back, our final segment with Aztec head coach Rocky Long. We will honor our California Bank and Trust Student Athlete of the Week. And a couple of more questions for the coach before we get set for the North Dakota game on Saturday night. You're listening to the Aztec Coaches Show. Chris Ello along with Coach Rocky Long from Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill in Grossmont Center on News Radio FM 95.7 and AM 600 Kogo.
Go!
Welcome back. Our final segment on the Aztec Football Coaches Show. We are at Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill in Grossmont Center with all of our fans out here. Let's hear from you people out there tonight. Appreciate y'all coming out. Great crowd out here tonight to see Coach Rocky Long. Aztecs 42-7 over Army last week, improving their record to 1-1. North Dakota comes in this Saturday. Time for our California Bank and Trust Student Athlete of the Week. California Bank and Trust proud to recognize San Diego State's outstanding student athletes. And this week's California Bank and Trust Student Athlete of the Week is a football player. Coach, you may recognize this kid. Nat Burhay wins the California Bank and Trust Student Athlete of the Week with a career-high 14 tackles, including 10 solo stops during the 42-7 victory over Army. The Aztecs forcing 3 turnovers as well as holding the Black Knights to only 50 yards passing the entire game. Last year, Nat Burhay started all 13 games for the Aztecs, playing both the Aztec and Warrior positions on defense. This season, he leads the team in tackles and looks to continue his great play in this week's game against North Dakota. Nat was born in Fontana, California, and is a public administration major. Congratulations to Nat Burhay, this week's California Bank and Trust Student Athlete of the Week. Way to go, Nat. I wanted to ask you real quick. We got a few minutes left, Coach. It's kind of a question that you get a lot, I'm sure, but now that you're in your 4th year coaching San Diego State's defense, 2 years as defensive coordinator and 2nd year as head coach, but where are these kids now in terms of understanding and executing your 3-3-5 defense? Because they look like they're getting better and better and better at it all the time.
Well, I think that the linebackers in the secondary understand it as well as any team that I've ever coached. Where our inexperience is in the defensive line. So we can't do some of the things we'd like to do where defensive linemen actually drop in coverage or cover backs out of the backfield and all that kind of thing.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't like to interrupt you, but didn't you get an interception, though, on a zone blitz the other night with Josh Gabbard dropping back in coverage?
We did.
That was an unbelievable play right there. I saw that one on a replay. That was an incredible play by Josh Gabbard.
Yeah, I didn't know why he spun. Did you see him spin all the way around?
He spun around a little
and then
bit,
caught
but
the ball.
But he still, he got it.
We don't really teach that spinning
You didn't
around.
teach the
No,
spin
we
thing?
didn't teach the spin, but
that was a nice play.
no, he caught the ball well.
Yeah.
So this year we're using our linebackers and our secondary to try to do some things and disguise some things that normally we use our defensive linemen to do. And we're trying to keep the defensive linemen kind of in the same place all the time and keep their assignments as simple as possible so they can use their athletic ability and they don't miss assignment errors. Now, we talked about this the first week, and we're doing a lot more with our linebackers and secondary than we've had before, and in practice they handled it well, but in the first half of the Washington game they didn't. But someone asked me in the Army game if we're faster now than we were. And I think if we ran a 40-yard dash, that I don't think we're faster in 40 times. What I think is we look a little faster because the players are more, especially a linebacker in the secondary, they're more confident in knowing what they're supposed to do, so they do it just a little bit quicker so it looks faster. And if you look fast playing defense, that's a really good sign.
The excellent sign. The Aztecs defensively, I don't know if you folks are aware of this, it's a pretty good stat, but the last 20 drives against the Aztec defense, going back to the Washington game, you guys have allowed the one touchdown, and on the other 19 drives, you've allowed not a single point. So that's got to even bring a little bit of a smile to your face. 19 out of 20, that's not too shabby.
That's not bad.
Not too shabby. You got about a minute left. Offensive game plan against North Dakota. I know you don't want to give me the whole thing, but what about getting Gavin Escobar a little bit more involved? He's had 2 catches in each of the first 2 games. I know you've targeted him a few times, but you'd like to get him the ball a little bit more because he's your All-American type of guy at tight end, or are they teams doing things to try and take him away?
There you go.
Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, everybody else knows he's a really good player too. So there are schemes on defense where you can make it hard to get the ball to him. So it's been harder for our offensive staff to hide him. And I don't mean really hide him, but you put him in different positions, you motion him, you shift him around to try to get him matchups where they can't double him or they can't bracket him or they can't do those sort of things. And everybody else knows he can run out there and catch the ball too.
Yeah.
So now what that should mean is his production might go down, but the wide receiver production goes up. And then if the wide receiver production goes up, then they'll stop doing that to Gavin, and all of a sudden he gets better again.
All right, we'll see how it all turns out this Saturday night against North Dakota. We want to thank our crack support staff. First of all, thanks to all of you out here at Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill. Give yourselves a huge round of applause.